Well, as the world stopped post the COVID scenario happened in March, most people, companies, and families, they struggled and tried struggling their way out in the best way possible to resume lifestyles and businesses. One thing that we have surely learned in the past couple of months is that the future is digital. And when we talk about our industry, digital marketing is the thing for sure. I think it would be a very good idea to discuss the strategies that we could follow to be, to be the best in the business and to better ourselves as well. And I am glad to introduce you to one person who is the most fitting and who has the most knowledge about the same. So it's time to discuss on the topic of 5 pillars of digital marketing strategy. And our keynote speaker is here with us. Please welcome Seema Gupta, Associate Professor, Marketing, IIM Bangalore. A very good afternoon to you, ma'am, and a very warm welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here today in this webinar.
Yeah, thanks, Pragya. So, hello, guys. I'm very excited to be with you. Guys, we are talking about digital marketing and webinars. They do very well on LinkedIn. So, I'm going to take a screenshot with all your faces and post it on my LinkedIn. And I suggest you also do it. And I will also comment and like your post. So do tag me. My LinkedIn handle is Seema IIMB. Seema IIMB. So tag me and I will also respond and like and share your comment. So once this session is over, you can share your experience and post it. Okay, we'll keep it interactive. I don't want it to be a monologue because digital anyways is two-way. Monologue is not allowed in digital. And particularly in social, we are supposed to listen more. Now, basically, the major trends which I see in digital marketing today. So number one trend is voice. So we are already seeing Alexa and Siri, and they are becoming very popular in households, particularly when you have teenagers in the house, because they'll be constantly asking Alexa to play some music, right? And Alexa is busy meeting the demands of youth. So voice is a very big trend. Now, personal assistants are there, and even searches will happen through voice. And see, humans are basically lazy. We all are lazy. We want to put in the least possible effort, right? So if I have a query in mind, it's so easy to just speak out into the device, speak into the device, then to type. Typing requires a lot of effort. So what do you think would be the implication of voice on consumer behavior? So can you please put your comment in the chat box? How will it get impacted? What impact voice will have on search? Will it change the way we search? Will it change the nature of query? Will the number of queries increase or decrease? Voice SEO is the name stuff. I didn't understand, Ajish. Voice SEO is the name stuff, maybe same stuff. It will increase. Okay, voice is the new interface. No UI will change.
No UI becomes the new UI. There's going to be no interface.
Okay. So no UI will become the new UI. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
I meant the new stuff. Voice SEO is the most happening stuff. That's what I meant. Sorry for the typo.
Ma'am, okay. I would just like to tell an example if you would allow.
Yeah, please.
There are 2 kids of mine. My 8-year-old son never uses text search on Google. He just does a voice search. My 13-year-old daughter does text. So there's a significant change already happening in the user preferences.
Exactly.
It is basically a natural language processing. So it comes from within. That typing and speaking out directly is a natural process. Okay.
Absolutely. Typing requires effort, but speaking is very natural. We learn. Even before children are sent to school, they learn how to speak. So, Uday.
Seema, this is Uday. So, my input is if you go to the Panchendriya, the traditional 5 sense organs, there is more at play when you have a voice reaching you, you tend to imagine the person as far more impact than just an informal text. The second thing,
Absolutely.
you actually said, it's faster. We can speak faster than we can type. So using a voice is typically a better mode of communication. But when
Right.
you hear a voice, if you can ideally see, you asked us to all put the video up in the beginning. When you see it, it's all the Panchendriya that is at work. Just that
Got
touch
it.
is not available, but I think it's far more impactful.
Yes, yes, got it. So in the voice, you can emote. So voice
Absolutely.
will also show tonality. It will show whether you are asking something in anger, or is it more pleasant, or are you happy? So mood also is very clear. So basically, number of, like Amrish is saying, number of queries will increase. So people will make more queries because it takes less effort, and also because it will reduce and overcome the literacy barrier.
One of the things that voice enables it be vernacular. Local language queries become absolutely possible. So it actually bridges inclusion. So the number of people who will join the internet revolution goes up significantly with voice.
Absolutely, Sairam. Wonderful. So basically, it allows multitasking also. So while if people want to ask for directions, it's not possible to type, but you can do it while driving. Voice also means it will be more colloquial. So we are not asking in keywords, but people will make queries as they come to their mind. So it will be more natural, it will be colloquial, it will be in the form of questions, right? It will be longer phrases. So the nature of query will be different. Have you heard of long tail keywords? Right, yes, if you have heard of long tail keywords. So there is something called as long tail in digital marketing. So with voice, the queries will become long tail. Long tail means more longer phrases, questions, more natural, more colloquial. So like that. So voice will have a significant impact, and it's only going to increase. Another major impact it will have is because voice is faster, so marketeers, they have to increase the speed of their websites, because speaking is faster, people are becoming impatient, so pages have to load fast, and technology at the back end has to retrieve results and speak out in a much lesser time.
Can I just give one example? This is very different one. I think it's very
Saira, in
useful.
the interest of time,
Time we can stop. I'll
yeah,
let you continue, ma'am. Sorry.
yes, yes, no problem. We have to just balance. Okay. Now, another big trend, which all of us already agree, but maybe we can discuss it here, is increasing use of artificial intelligence in digital marketing. So, any experiences, guys? Can you please put in chat how AI is impacting marketing? Now, basically, role of AI, we can see in the form of a pyramid. So, the base of pyramid is bidding. So bidding is already automated. See, in digital, no, we don't have a rate card. It's not like TOI that you have a rate card for column centimeter. It's not like TV where you have a 30-second rate card, right, for a star plus. But in digital, price is discovered through exchange, through real-time auction. So the first impact of artificial intelligence is in bidding. So bidding is already automated. There's no need to do any manual bidding, and bidding is based on second price auction. So you don't have to pay whatever you are bidding, but you pay only 1 cent more than the second highest bidder. So it is second price auction, and it is automatic bidding. Okay. All right, we are getting some interesting. Sairam is saying Google today created an update where you can just hum a song and it will play identifying the song from the pattern of humming. And this is next level of voice, speech, language understanding. Wow, that is awesome. Just humming and it will figure out. Great. AI bidding, Uday is saying, relies on data inputs to make informed bidding decisions, and algorithms could end up making less than optimum based on this. But with manual bidding, you always have an account manager checking performance and ensuring there are no data quality issues. Uday, there could be a counter argument that machines are basically more sophisticated and they can analyze more number of variables at a point in time than what we can do as humans, right? So it can be two ways. I think technology will have a more role in future, and with predictive modeling coming in, actually AI and all can bring more efficiency than what humans can do. But of course, it doesn't mean that marketeers they can completely give up their roles. So you have to constantly analyze, see what's working. AI and all will only throw up data, but it is up to humans to read the data, to infer, draw actionable insight from the data. So I would take it like that. Abhijit is saying some examples of AI in marketing are predictive customer service, speech recognition, chatbots. Exactly. Yes, Abhijit. I completely agree. Chatbots, we'll talk about it. Personalization, Praveen. So bidding is like the very basic AI. Now, second level of AI is happening in targeting. Now we have manual targeting. See, how do we do targeting in mass media? We say SEC, A, B, right? Demography, geography. So our target audience is say 25 to 45, living in metros and belonging to SEC, A, B. Now in digital also, you can do same manual targeting, but you can become more laser focused. So you can say, okay, demography, age, then working in this company or having this much seniority, right? And having interest in, say, lifestyle. So even psychographics and all, we can do targeting. But what I'm talking about here is not just this manual targeting. Targeting in digital is more automated. So most effective targeting, for example, is lookalike targeting. What is the best targeting? You upload your own data set of customers. You upload it on, say, Facebook or Google Ads or programmatic. Now you don't want to target them because they have already bought from you. Now you want to create a lookalike audience of your best high CLV customers. Now technology can create that lookalike targeting, and that is the best targeting because it is unique. So you are not creating too much clutter in the market. You are not chasing the same audience. Your audience is unique. Are you getting it? So targeting is also automated. How? Because lookalike modeling is the best type of targeting, and that can be done with the help of technology. And advantage there is that your audience is unique to you. You are not competing with others for the same target audience. Okay. And then if we look at further up the pillar, messaging. Now, can the creative also be automated? Can technology improve the messaging? So here, I think we have not made complete progress, but there is partial development. So now we upload multiple headlines. We upload multiple images. We upload multiple description, call to action. And then technology will figure out that what is the best combination of headline description, which will basically give you better results. Okay, so we have achieved partial results in this messaging, but it will be so good if complete content creation can be automated. Like I invest a lot of time in basically writing blog articles. So can there be AI which can create content for me? It will save so much of time, right? So we are not yet there. But yes, technology can figure out which ad is performing better, which image is performing better, and it will optimize better performing creatives. Or you can also set up dynamic ads. There is no need to make an ad. Like what keyword user is typing in the query and what text is there on your website. Based on that, Google will dynamically create a text ad and display. So this is called as dynamic advertising. You're not making any ad, but dynamically based on the search query and based on the text on your website, automatically an ad is created. Or you may have experienced, it becomes very irritating also. You go to Amazon and you put a certain item in the cart, and then you see ads for the same item with the same image chasing you everywhere. So Amazon is not creating ad for each and every SKU. It is all happening through technology, and it is called as dynamic remarketing. So Amazon is simply uploading all the millions of products which are there on its portal, and it is uploading in CSV format. And cookie is capturing with the help of the product ID. When the user browses that product, cookie is capturing the product ID. And when the same user is going to Facebook, then that cookie and that pixel gets fired, and it looks up for that product ID in the CSV, and it pulls out image, title, description, whether any discount is there, and other things, and dynamically in real time ad is created. Okay, so that is automation. Okay, let us see what Sairam is saying. There is an app called Pictory that I use, where using AI, it does automatic video creation based on the story you write and input to the engine, and video gets created. Okay, that's fantastic. Uh, because video creation is still challenging. Okay. Organizations can work on propensity scores and analytics solutions that can reasonably predict what products our customers are likely to buy next. Amit, completely agree. Basically, entire AI is based on predictive modeling, right? It predicts, and ad is shown to people who are likely to convert. Correct. So instead of basing your marketing on history, it is better to base your marketing on future. And that is what predictive modeling does. Okay. Now, another example of AI. One of you said also in chat, it is chatbots. Chatbots, I mean, I consult with companies. In real estate, many companies are collecting leads through chatbots. Can you imagine that? Chatbot, people are collecting leads. Why? Because that contact us form on the website is dead. Nobody goes to write an email. Nobody fills out any form any longer. Rashi is saying we have been collecting leads from chatbots. Exactly. So why it is happening? Because people want instant gratification. They don't want to wait for response to email to come after 3 hours or 1 day. And chatbot is live, right? It's immediate, it's interactive. So people are happily giving away information. So you start with little bit chatting, and then you collect email ID, ask the customer, okay, sales team will call back. So give the phone number, give email ID, and people are happily giving it away. And these chatbots, interesting thing is, they have a personality. Like Domino's Pizza, the chatbot is called as Dom. So Dom is a character. Dom is male or a female, right? It has a personality. It can be quirky, it can be serious, it can be fun, it can be irreverent. SDFC has got Eva chatbot. So they can have a character, and they can communicate much more. Abhijit is saying many banks are using chatbots. Sri Kumar is saying absolutely. BFSI, real estate, uh, education also. There's a lot of scope for using chatbots. Abhijit is saying, and that's the only reason as to why chatbots are becoming evolving lead generation. Okay, we have generated 350 plus leads, and closing deals at school and much easier. Rashi is saying, and Rashi is authorized Apple reseller. Okay, that's cool, Rashi. Glad to know. So chatbot is another. Now another third trend which is emerging is use of virtual reality and augmented reality. Now it's not a new thing and it's been there since many years, but unfortunately it's not really taken off so much because you have a gear, right? There is an external device and people have to wear this device. So that itself is a hindrance to its adoption. But in future, as marketing is becoming more experiential, and it's not enough to tell people, just tell people what you are. From telling, it evolved to show. Tell, then show. Now people are saying showing is not enough. They want to experience the product or service themselves. So virtual reality plays a part in giving people an experience before they buy. So it allows for informed decision making and it mitigates risk, right? So more informed the purchase decision, the lower is the risk for consumer, and lower risk, lower fear, and higher would be the conversion rates. So one example I observed is that of Adidas. So please share in chat box if any examples you can think of VR, which brands are doing it and for what. So basically, Adidas, they launched a outdoor line of apparel, and for that they launched a VR application. So people could experience the thrill of climbing a mountain without having to take the risk, and they would simply follow the directions of experienced mountaineer, and they had two controls which they managed, and it's basically very good. Without taking risk, you get the thrill of mountaineering. It worked very well. Abhijit is saying it's working very well in Sephora or augmented touring, augmented branding material. Yes, Adidas is a classic example. Abhijit is saying. Yes, Sephora is also there in the slide. Another adoption is coming from fashion companies. See, fashion shows, they have very limited attendance because they are open to very few people, right? And only models and film stars and all, they usually attend. So this company called as Topshop, they basically gave a VR experience to the fashion show that they had organized by live streaming it on VR handset. Now, so many people, they got the experience of a fashion show and they felt that they are sitting on the front row and they are rubbing shoulders with celebrities. So it was very good way of telling people the future designs and the new styles in fashion. Augmented reality. Augmented reality is a combination of real world and technology. Virtual reality is completely virtual. There's no reality in that, right? Augmented reality is a combination. So we have many examples like Home Depot, IKEA. They've been pioneers. So you point the camera and now you can figure out how a piece of furniture will look in your living room, how much space it will take. Will it match with the ambience? Will it match with the color scheme? And then you can take a decision. We got some interesting comments. Good, Piyush. It's saying 5G plus AR plus VR shall be the new landscape for marketeers to enhance customer engagement. Absolutely. Will not see as much a demand. While VR is great for experience, the next few months will not see as much demand. Uh, yeah, generally this is bit expensive. L'Oreal makeup, Google Pixel, Star Wars stickers, they are example. Air cards I'm not familiar with, but others. And we got interesting comment here also that it is used in hospitals. Explaining surgery procedures. Yeah. Caterpillar using AR to promote its latest machines. Absolutely. So basically, AR, VR are not limited to marketing. They can be applied in non-marketing areas, and health is one big area. Absolutely. So Sephora also does that. Like for women, no, we always have this challenge. While buying a lipstick, we don't know how the particular shade will look on the lips, because it depends on your skin tone. It depends on the color of your lips. So Sephora is trying to solve that problem by using AR. Another interesting application is in cinema, and it's basically very simple, like QR code type of technology. So when we go to a cinema, we are very intrigued by the new movies which will be released. So AMC theaters realized that people are wanting to know about the new releases. So they used AR application, and people could point their smartphone, and then they could see who's the star cast, who's the director, what is the date of release of the movie. And they could actually book tickets from the AR app itself. So that is how you can monetize. It's not just improving customer experience, but you are actually monetizing and enabling the consumer to make purchase decision. Manufacturing areas use AR VR. Troubleshooting tutorial of complex networking and telecom equipment. Yeah, that's an interesting application, Sairam. Absolutely. So AR, VR, they are having a big potential. Now, fourth trend, uh, when are you bringing in VR at profseema.com? Piyush is asking. Piyush, yes, hopefully, pray very soon. Lenskart is a very good example, Shishir. Absolutely. You can figure out how a particular shade will look on your face. Now, fourth trend, which we are observing, is micro moment marketing. See, digital marketing is all about real time marketing. It's not stale marketing. So it's marketing on the fly, it's marketing on the go. So for that, you have to know what is the current trend, right? You have to know the context around you. Like Amul is very smart in contextual marketing because they are always ready. So it requires a mindset, that your mindset should not be too much of pre-planning. You should plan, because the earlier speaker spoke, professor, he spoke so much about planning and getting your business model right and all. So I'm not saying just turn his theories on its head, but I'm saying digital requires a different mindset. So here you don't plan, you don't create like a 3-year plan. Your planning cycle is short. So you make short term plans. So it can be a weekly plan, it can be a monthly plan, or it can be a quarterly plan. Even if you make a plan, you don't get married to the plan. So you be ready to dump the plan and go back to the drawing board and start all over again. Because in real time, you're getting data, and data is saying that a campaign is either working or not working. So either way, you have to take some action. So if it is working, you may want to amplify. So you may want to scale it up. So instead of firing bullets, you may want to throw a cannonball. And if it is not working, you may want to put a stop. You may want to pull the plug, right? So either way, you have to intervene. So basically identifying trends and then piggybacking on those trends. So there are many examples. MasterCard on Mother's Day, through social listening, I mean, before Mother's Day came, they found that there was a lot of chatter on social media that children wanted to take their mother on a holiday. And the destination which was prominently coming was Bali. MasterCard was quick to realize that Bali is dear as a destination to Indians. And they tied up with Starwood Resorts in Bali, and they came up with an offer that on Mother's Day, if you plan for a trip to Bali, then this is the discount and this is the package. It did very well. Red Roof is a hotel company, and they identify passengers who are stranded on different airports across US, and they send them messages in real time. Stranded on the airport, come stay with us. So people whose flights have been cancelled, and in US there are so many flights, right? Because the amount of air traffic that they have is huge. So it resonated very well, and they were able to get a lot of conversions. Starbucks, people who were searching for coffee near me, they got an ad that book the coffee now and it will be ready. And the people could actually pay while they were on the way. And then they have to just pick the coffee. It would be ready, and it would tell, people can tell the time. So they will arrive at after 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So by focusing on the location of the user, you can do real-time marketing, micro moment marketing. Oreo is a company known for this real-time marketing. So if you focus on sports, because sports are events are happening in real time. And they had a classic example when in Super Bowl lights went off, Oreo tweeted showing lights emanating and radiating from the cookie. And it said, you can still dunk in the dark. And this tweet became viral. So many people retweeted. Why? Because it was very timely. So what do you think, guys? What do you want to share in the chat? What will be the implication of real-time marketing on your org structure? How will it impact your org structure, organizational structure? How will it impact? B2B, Amit is saying we overnight launched a mobile version of an app that customer support teams use right now after lockdown. That's very good. B2B customer buying journeys can be transformed with micro moments. I want to know exactly. Shishir, this is very good. I didn't put a slide because I thought it's very theoretical. But I exactly had this slide. These are the micro moments. I want to know, I want to see, I want to buy, and there are one or two more. So when the customer is in the market, at that time, if you do intervention, you will get better result. So you can provide a demo when people want to see, and you should have e-commerce when people want to buy and take action. So how will it impact org structure? Lean organization, more digital spends, and strong focus on demographic-centric content creators at real time. Absolutely, Piyush. Bang on. Lean, flat organization, more delegation, less hierarchies, decentralization, right? Because only when the teams are decentralized and they have the authority, then only they can make quick decisions. Otherwise, they can't make decisions, right? Every time they have to seek approval, and then it will be too late, right? So that means you need to have a flat organizational structure. You need to have nimble, flexible teams who are able to make decisions. And that can happen when you hire quality people, because delegation is a double-edged sword. So if you delegate authority and power to people who are not capable, then it can backfire. Empowered organization, absolutely. So quickly, I know I just only have maybe 5 more minutes. One interesting example is this walkers. They were basically Gary Lineker was the brand ambassador for Walkers, and Walkers was sponsoring Leicester City team. And Gary Lineker announced that if his team won the championship, that Premier League, then he would give the man of match trophy only in his underpants. So Walkers came out with this campaign, and with every match that Leicester City won, one packet of chips kept on disappearing. So one by one, the packet of chips kept on disappearing, and ultimately his body, his modesty was covered with only one packet. And people were in anticipation. They wanted to see that what actually happens and how this entire campaign will be panned out. Shishir is saying, are these enablements not very intrusive? Business Community by Alcatel. Intrusive. I'm not sure how. Okay, because it is real-time marketing. So here, right, basically there's a trade-off between your privacy, Shishir, and your effectiveness. So the more we guard the data, the lesser focused will be the targeting, right? And Indian laws especially are more relaxed, but in future laws will become more and more stringent about data privacy. Like GDPR is already very strict, and compliance to GDPR is very challenging. So basically, all these are anonymized data. You only know cookie ID. You don't know who the person is. You don't know name, right? You only know it's a cookie ID. So that way it is anonymous. Anisha is saying, as a customer, I get spooked by brands hounding me. Anisha, all of us do, right? It becomes irritating. So as a marketer, we have to be responsible and without invading the consumer privacy and bound by the limits we have to do. Okay, now last trend is impact marketing. Now, basically in digital, we have hygiene marketing or routine marketing or impact marketing. So routine marketing are your banner ads and is the post which you are doing on Instagram, Facebook, and SEO. All these are routine stuff. Okay, but it's not enough to do routine marketing because there's so much clutter, and ad unit in digital is very weak because it's a very small ad and people have banner blindness. So even though ad is visible, but our brains have learned that this is the placement for an ad, and we ignore, and the message does not register, right? So once in a while, we have to up the creativity quotient and do experiential marketing, do gamification, do impact marketing. And it is possible to do with the help of digital because you can do custom applications. Like Facebook, it has got very good APIs and you can come up with good custom campaign. So for example, this Ariel fashion shoot, Ariel came out with an app and basically they put up a kiosk in Stockholm. And through this gamification which they did, people could basically stain branded apparel and then Ariel would wash it and it would remove the stains. Now it took it off online. So it was happening in Stockholm, but because they created a custom application, so people sitting from the comfort of their homes through Facebook app, they could actually participate in this fashion shoot and they could get the free branded clothing. Similarly, Mini, they created a custom application and people, they stood in the queues. This was also in some European city. And then custom application was on Facebook. And people could use the application and click a photograph and then their name along with Mini would come on a giant billboard. So they said basically Mini is personal, right? And we love our faces. We love to hear our names again and again. So if the brand is putting our face on a giant billboard, it gratifies a lot of ego. So people participated. Ram is saying, okay, there is one interesting comment. Privacy is overrated. That is Ram's view. What are you doing that you want to hide from these companies? Unless you are a Batman or a Wonder Woman, what do you have to care if Alexa or Siri knows your favorite song or Amazon knows what you want to buy? Just enjoy the attention, feel important. Ram, that is a interesting viewpoint. Here, I agree that we can't have skeletons in a cupboard because days of privacy are over, right? We have to be completely transparent, because if you don't put it out, competition will, activist will. We have many hate mongers, right? On digital already we are seeing there are hate mongers. There is a lot of cynicism online, right? People get trolled. So if you have skeletons in the cupboard and if you hide something or do some shady thing, anyways, we have all have lot of envious people and lot of hate mongers. They will put it out. So these are times where you have to be completely transparent. Sairam, how did it end? Piyush is saying that Go Leicester campaign. I leave it to you, Piyush, to imagine how it ended.
Or maybe find out, Seema ma'am, not just, in the digital world, you can go and find out if you're so curious, right?
Yes.
But it was a really very interesting session, ma'am, and we've got a lot of engagement, people asking a lot of questions. I also feel, as a customer, I feel spooked. I may not be Batman or Spider-Man hiding my suit in the closet, but I don't always want to tell you where I am, what I'm doing. You may think it's okay, but there are many people who may misuse this information. And I have to protect myself. And then I don't like people prying into my privacy. I remember once picking up the newspaper and telling my husband verbally that this is a new meat distribution frozen food company. We should try it out. Before I knew it, I was receiving pop-ups on, you want to order meat. This is a brand. This is a brand. I did not type it in anywhere. I did not type it in my desktop. I did not type it in my mobile phone. I did not type it anywhere.
Yes.
But I was given suggestions. I don't know how that happened. It was a verbal conversation I had with my dad.
See, now you may get, yeah, absolutely. So you may see more of this now because Facebook has invested in Jio, and Jio is the mobile network. So
no, that is fair, ma'am. I do not use Siri. I do not
know.
use Google Home or Alexa. But I don't know how my voice was picked up, from where it was picked up. The conversation I've had in privacy with my husband, and a marketer is pushing a product.
Yes.
I don't know how. I don't know. I'm still stunned.
Correct. So a lot of these things, even if an ad is playing on TV, then technology is there that through some apps which are installed in your smartphone, they can hear the ad which is playing in your living room on TV. And if it is competitor's ad, then your brand ad can be pushed.
Your apps are always listening to you.
I don't even watch TV.
Your apps are always listening to you.
Yeah, apps are always listening.
No, that is eavesdropping. Marketers can't write this saying, what good is your privacy for? That is
no,
eavesdropping.
Correct. So, right. So that is, we understand. So increasingly, marketers have to be conscious about how they collect data and what permissions they have, and renewing permissions. So once permission is obtained, people have the right to withdraw the permission to do any sort of follow-up marketing. So all those things will, they will come into place. So I think, so I will stop here. my recommendation is that, see, the cost of failure is little bit low in digital. In digital, it is okay to fail. Because how much will you lose? It's not like you've booked an ad spot on TV and you have spent already 1 CR in making the ad and already booked media inventory of 5 CR. No, we don't do like that in digital, right? So how much you will lose? You will lose maybe few thousand rupees, right? Or maybe lakhs. But unless you take some risk, we cannot break the clutter. We cannot be heard above the noise level. So that is why this impact marketing becomes critical. And ad unit is very weak in digital because it is like very small ad, which is easy to forget and neglect, right? So these are like 5 big trends, and definitely I'll take more questions.
Ma'am, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry about this, but we're really running over time, ma'am, and we've had a very interactive session where in real time you've answered all the questions. So
Yeah, so we
I
can
would request you to please wrap it up here. And
Yeah.
of course, a lot of your students are here. Those who are not students will like to become students. You can always reach out to Professor Seema. She's got her contact details here. It was an excellent session, ma'am. Very interactive and very informative. A lot of marketers will perhaps scratch their heads and think, should I do that? Should I do that? But thank you so much for joining us. And please do reach out to Professor Seema if you have more questions. And I'm sure she can guide you on that. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. See you around, guys, on social.